In the world of country music, where cowboy boots, broken hearts, and small town pride reign supreme, there has always been one unspoken truth hiding behind the twang. Not everyone fit the mold. For decades, country music painted a picture of rugged masculinity and traditional values. But behind the scenes, many artists carried a secret too dangerous to share: their true identity. Today, we're peeling back the curtain to reveal the 20 country stars who, whether quietly or boldly, Chely Wright, the first to say it out loud. For years, Chely Wright was the all-American country sweetheart, beautiful, wholesome, and talented. Her 1999 hit Single White Female rocketed her to stardom and placed her squarely in the spotlight of Nashville's elite. But what no one knew at the time, what even some of her closest friends and family didn't know, was that Chely Wright was gay. She had hidden it all her life. From her early days growing up in a conservative Kansas household to the neon lights of Music Row, Chely carefully built a public image that conformed to country's traditional values. But behind closed doors, the pressure mounted: depression, panic attacks, sleepless nights. The fear of being found out haunted her. In 2010, Chely made history by becoming the first major country star to come out publicly. The news sent shockwaves through the industry. She lost fans. Radio stations dropped her. Concert bookings dried up. But Chely stood her ground. Her memoir, Like Me, revealed the years of emotional torment she endured, and her courage paved the way for others. Though the cost was steep, Wright became a symbol of bravery in an industry that rarely embraced change. In her words, "I would rather be hated for who I am than loved for who I am not." Chely's story isn't just about coming out. It's about survival. It's about what it takes to tell the truth in a place where truth can get you silenced. 2. Ty Herndon, a voice that couldn't stay silent. Ty Herndon was once the poster boy of 90s country charm: piercing eyes, a southern drawl, and a string of chart-topping hits like What Mattered Most and Living in a Moment. Fans saw a man who embodied traditional masculinity, singing about love, heartbreak, and redemption. But behind the image was a man hiding a painful truth. From the beginning of his career, Ty struggled to balance his private identity with his public persona. The industry's pressure to maintain a straight image was suffocating. Herndon's inner conflict led to personal turmoil, failed marriages, substance abuse, and a 1995 arrest in a Fort Worth park that tabloids twisted into scandal. Still, Ty stayed silent for decades. Then, in 2014, at the age of 52, he came out as gay in an emotional interview with People magazine. "I'm an out, proud, and happy gay man," he declared. The reaction was surprisingly supportive. Unlike Chely Wright, whose career suffered immediately after coming out, Herndon received messages of love from fans and fellow artists alike. His courage inspired a new generation. In fact, just hours after Ty's revelation, fellow country artist Billy Gilman followed suit and publicly came out, proving that visibility matters. Ty now uses his platform to support LGBTQ+ youth and remains a symbol of second chances and living authentically. What makes Ty's story resonate isn't just that he came out, it's that he did so after years of suffering in silence, proving it's never too late to be true to yourself. 3. Billy Gilman, the child star who found his voice. Billy Gilman's rise to fame was nothing short of meteoric. At just 11 years old, he burst onto the country music scene with One Voice, a haunting ballad about violence and lost innocence. He became the youngest artist ever to have a top 40 hit on the Billboard country charts, a prodigy with a pure voice and a bright future. But as he grew older, Billy found himself increasingly out of place in the industry that once celebrated him. While the world saw a golden child, he was silently grappling with an identity he didn't yet have the words for. And the older he got, the more difficult it became to conform to the mold Nashville expected. The country music world, still largely conservative, wasn't ready for a young male star who might be gay. Rumors swirled. Industry support waned. By his late teens, Billy's career had cooled. His voice changed with age, but so did the industry's willingness to support him. Then, in 2014, hours after Ty Herndon's public coming out, Billy uploaded a raw, heartfelt video to YouTube. "Being a gay male country artist is not the best thing," he admitted with a nervous smile. But he was done hiding. Gilman's revelation was met with widespread praise. It also sparked a second act in his career. In 2016, he auditioned for The Voice and stunned the judges, including country superstar Blake Shelton with his vocal power. He finished as the season's runner-up, reinventing himself in front of a national audience. Billy Gilman's journey is one of transformation, from child star to outcast to empowered artist. And through it all, his one voice never wavered. It just became more honest. 4. Brandi Carlile, the outlaw of Americana. Though Brandi Carlile often straddles the line between country, folk, and Americana, her influence on the country genre is undeniable. With her raw vocals, poetic songwriting, and rebel spirit, she's carved out a space where authenticity isn't just accepted, it's celebrated. But long before the Grammys and sold-out shows, Brandi knew exactly who she was and how much that would cost her in the country world. Born and raised in rural Washington, Brandi came out as a lesbian at age 15. Unlike many artists who waited until fame to reveal their identity, she was open from the beginning. But that openness didn't come without consequences. Early in her career, she was told directly by labels and industry insiders that being openly gay would make her unmarketable, especially to country radio. And they were right. While critics praised her music, the mainstream country establishment kept her at arm's length. Despite this, Carlile refused to hide or soften her truth. Instead, she embraced the role of outsider, infusing her lyrics with themes of resilience, longing, and spiritual reckoning. Her breakout 2018 album, By the Way, I Forgive You, earned her 6 Grammy nominations and introduced her to a broader audience. Collaborations with country legends like Tanya Tucker and the formation of the supergroup The Highwomen only further proved that country music couldn't ignore her forever. Carlile's visibility as an out married lesbian with children is groundbreaking in a genre so rooted in tradition. She didn't just break into the industry, she redefined what was possible within it. Brandi didn't come out after finding success. She found success by being out. And that makes her legacy all the more powerful. Number 5. Lavender Country, the band that said it first. Long before the words LGBTQ+ entered mainstream conversation, and decades before any major country star dared to come out, there was Lavender Country. Formed in the early 1970s by singer-songwriter Patrick Haggerty, the band released what is now recognized as the first openly gay country album in history. The self-titled album Lavender Country wasn't just bold, it was revolutionary. With songs like Cryin' These Cocksucking Tears, Haggerty didn't hold back. The lyrics were defiant, honest, and deeply political, a far cry from Nashville's polished tales of heartbreak and honky-tonks. Unsurprisingly, country radio refused to play it. The band was virtually blacklisted, and the album faded into obscurity. But Lavender Country wasn't trying to fit in. They were trying to be heard, even if only by a few. Haggerty, who was openly gay and fiercely socialist, saw music as a tool for protest and visibility. He wasn't just singing for fame, he was singing for survival. For decades, the album was a hidden gem passed quietly among queer communities. Then, in the 2010s, it was rediscovered. Reissued by a small label, Lavender Country found a new generation of fans, and Patrick Haggerty began performing again, to standing ovations. In 2022, Haggerty passed away, but his legacy lives on. More than just a footnote, Lavender Country is a foundational piece of LGBTQ+ music history, proving that even in the most traditional genres, there have always been voices demanding to be heard. Patrick Haggerty didn't wait for permission. He didn't hide. And in doing so, he paved the way for everyone who came after him. Number 6. Shane McAnally, the hit maker behind the hits. You may not recognize Shane McAnally's face, but if you've listened to country radio in the past decade, you've heard his work. He's the man behind dozens of chart-topping songs, from Casey Musgrave's Follow Your Arrow to Sam Hunt's Body Like a Back Road. With over 40 number-one hits to his name, Shane is one of the most successful songwriters in modern country music. But for years, he was also one of its best-kept secrets. In the late 1990s, McAnally tried launching his career as a solo artist. He had the voice, the look, and the songwriting chops. But there was one problem. He was gay, and he wasn't out. He quickly learned that honesty came at a cost. You'd hear comments like, "You don't want to come off too theatrical," he later recalled. It was code for "don't be yourself." His first album flopped. Frustrated and disillusioned, he stepped away from the spotlight, but not from music. Years later, he returned to Nashville, not as a performer, but as a songwriter. This time, he was unapologetically himself. And ironically, that's when the hits started coming. Artists like Casey Musgraves embraced his fearless storytelling. Follow Your Arrow, co-written by McAnally, celebrated individuality and included a subtle but powerful nod to same-sex love. It was one of the first mainstream country songs to do so. Though he rarely headlines, Shane McAnally's presence is felt in nearly every corner of modern country. He mentors rising stars, advocates for LGBTQ+ voices, and refuses to let Nashville ignore its queer creators. His story proves that while the spotlight may not always shine on the brave often light the way forward. 7. Orville Peck, the masked cowboy of a new era. With a voice as deep as a canyon and a signature fringed mask that hides his face, Orville Peck emerged from the shadows like a figure from a queer Western dream. Mysterious, theatrical, and undeniably talented, Peck shattered expectations the moment he stepped onto the country scene. He's openly gay, flamboyantly styled, and unapologetically different, three things that traditionally didn't mix with country music. But Orville Peck didn't come to Nashville to blend in. He came to redefine it. Though his real name and origins were initially kept secret, Peck's musical roots run deep. A classically trained singer with a love for Johnny Cash, Roy Orbison, and Dolly Parton. His debut album, Pony, delivered cinematic storytelling infused with themes of heartbreak, identity, and longing, filtered through a queer lens that country music had rarely seen. Unlike many before him, Orville didn't hide who he was. He didn't wait for acceptance. He demanded it and got it. His genre-bending style earned him critical acclaim, high-profile collaborations with legends like Shania Twain and Willie Nelson, and a loyal fan base that spans country purists and indie rebels alike. But what makes Orville's story unique isn't just his openness, it's his boldness. He embraces camp, queer iconography, and cowboy mythology all at once, making him a walking contradiction that somehow works. In doing so, he has become a symbol of what modern country can be: inclusive, fearless, and beautifully strange. In a world that once silenced voices like his, Orville Peck sings louder and prouder than ever. 8. TJ Osborne, breaking the silence from within. As one half of the Grammy-winning duo Brothers Osborne, TJ Osborne has long been a familiar face in contemporary country. Alongside his brother John, the two created hits like Stay a Little Longer and It Ain't My Fault, earning accolades and a loyal following. For years, fans celebrated the duo's music, without realizing that TJ was carrying a heavy secret. In 2021, at the peak of his success, TJ made history by becoming the first openly gay artist signed to a major country label. His announcement in Time magazine wasn't just personal, it was seismic. "I'm very comfortable being gay," he wrote, "but I don't feel like I've ever been comfortable sharing that." For TJ, coming out was not just a statement, it was a release. After years of hiding a core part of himself, he finally felt free to be all of who he was, and fans embraced him. Fellow artists, from Casey Musgraves to Dan Shea, offered words of support. And in a rare moment of political unity, even the Tennessee state legislature honored him, a striking signal of how much had changed. But make no mistake, TJ's path wasn't easy. He feared backlash from the country establishment. He worried about how fans in rural America might react. Yet, he did it anyway, not for attention, but for authenticity. With his towering presence, deep voice, and powerful lyrics, TJ Osborne proves that country music doesn't have to choose between tradition and truth. It can hold both and be stronger for it. 9. K.D. Lang, the trailblazer who paid the price before it was remotely acceptable to be openly gay in country music. K.D. Lang did the unthinkable. She told the truth. With her smoky voice, androgynous style, and rebellious attitude, Lang stood out from the moment she stepped into Nashville in the late 1980s. But her talent was undeniable. Her album Absolute Torch and Twang won her a Grammy, and her voice drew comparisons to Patsy Cline. Then, in 1992, she publicly came out as a lesbian in an interview with The Advocate. It was a watershed moment and a professional earthquake. The fallout was swift and brutal. Country radio stations stopped playing her music. Some fans turned away. Her support in Nashville evaporated almost overnight. It didn't matter that she was one of the genre's most gifted vocalists. Her honesty cost her dearly. But K.D. Lang didn't apologize, and she didn't disappear. She reinvented herself, leaning into pop, jazz, and adult contemporary. Her 1992 album Ingenue featured the haunting hit Constant Craving, which brought her mainstream acclaim and a new audience far beyond the confines of country. Years later, many in Nashville quietly acknowledged her brilliance, but the damage was done. Still, Lang never expressed bitterness. She remained an advocate for LGBTQ+ rights and animal welfare and became a cultural icon in Canada and beyond. Today, she's remembered not only for her music, but for her courage. She was one of the first and bravest to say, "This is who I am." And she did it when no one else dared.